Second to mathematics for Hey, hello everybody. Thank you for the organizing this. First of all, let me thank the organizer and thanks Thomas for letting me to have this talk. A couple of weeks ago, we had a short talk on the hallway. As usual, we met there, and I raised the idea. Actually, at the beginning of this thematic program, I talk about the clients and patient adherence uncertainty and how can we model it and how can it affect the procedure of treatment and the results. So then in that manner, I just was thinking about this question, and yeah, after sharing my idea in the first meeting, yeah, I thought that it's the good to turn to this application in optimal control. And because of that, I choose the title for the type of cancer that I will explain, the breast cancer, and also for a type of the treatment that is more than the others that are short-term treatments. Then I will talk about the long-term treatments. So the topic is here, the title is too big, as Itamar mentioned. So, but the content will not be as big as the title, unfortunately, because I have time to dive into details. But I hope that the idea that I'm sharing with you and your, insightful, the feedback will help me to improve this idea and work it more. Uh, okay, so let's start I don't know what's the problem. Okay, so the table of content of my talks is motivation for this talk, and also I will have an introduction to Markov jump system that you are all familiar, and then I will jump to the stochastic H2H finity control for the Markov jump system, and based on Nash equilibrium. And then there is an application to the cancer treatment. And this is, I didn't have enough time to dive into applications, but I hope that this application will be a starting point, at least for me, that I'm beginner in this area. So you know that the uncertainty is a sense of the reality, and anything unexpected may happen, and always we expect that unexpectation and something happen to all. So the real world is full of uncertainties. So to control these uncertainties that affect the results, the mathematicians have been worked, and they proposed robust controls to control for this uncertainty and handle them effectively. So, and between these control tools, H2H finity control are attracted recently, and I mean recently means that the lifetime of this is less than the control, absolutely. So, and other methods as well. So, and here, because in this structure, we have patients and also we have the physicians. So two sides will play a game. I will explain in the design and structure of the model. So here, generally in a game theory, you know that there is a control designer for such a plan, and also there are some disturbance. Sometimes the game assumes that disturbance are a player, but here I assume that this disturbance and uncertainty comes from the uncertainty about the adherence of the patient to the treatment and how they react and how they decide. So, and there are many solutions, for example, Nash and also Stackelberg, depending on the structure of the game that you define, you will have the solution. So basically, the main idea was that some type of cancers require a long-term and multi-stage treatment, including different approach and treatment, surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation, and also the maintenance therapies that the psychological therapies that was discussed at the first conference that we had, and a group of people were interested to work on that, fortunately. So the next issue is that the adherence by the patient is so important for the treatment success and results. And it is clear that the adherence of the patient can reduce the recurrence and also improve the survival. And there are evidence that shows that I will present in next slides that how this is important, and evidence from scientific research highlights the challenges and importance of the adherence in specifically in the cancer types. Uh, For the treatments, the multi-stage treatment is important. Sometimes it takes for 5 to 10 years. For example, in hormone therapies or hormonal therapies, if I'm right, in this way, the research shows that this is a long-term and multi-stage therapy and treatment. So there was an interesting research that I reporting the result and that motivated me to work on this topic was done by Hirschman and his colleagues, and it was published in Journal of Clinical Oncology in 2011. So they showed that the non-adherence to hormonal therapy significantly increased the risk of recurrence and mortality in the breast cancer. So generally, this is the main and most important motivation that I got from the literature. I will show you the results here that, they treated a big number of women with the cancer, and total number was 8,769 women, and they were treated for a long time. The result shows that early discontinuation was 31%. That is huge number. And also non-adherence among continuous are 28%. It means that the number of non-adherence generally is significant. So we cannot say, okay, there is some protocol. If we suggest any treatment to the patient, they have to accept and immediately, and they have no more choice. We see that in this type of cancer that the treatment is long-term, maybe we have such a huge number of the discontinuity. And also, so the results shows that the survival rates for these 10 years for the continued, the hormone therapy is 80%, and for discontinuity is 73%. And for adherent continuers are 81%, and non-adherent continuers are 77%, which is significantly different. So it shows that the significant difference between those who continued and discontinued, and as well adherents and non-adherents. And the result shows that the adjusted hazard ratio that you are better than me know this topic, how it shows the risk of the recurrence. So the early discontinuation, the ratio is 1.26, and the confidence interval is 95%. So it shows that the risk is high. And for the non-adherence, the risk of recurrence is high as well in this confidence interval. So they concluded that the early discontinuation and non-adherence to hormone therapy are common. So because the huge number of the patients, they discontinued and they were non-adherent to the therapy. And also they studied a different group of people. So here both are associated with higher the all-cause mortality, and also the intervention to improve adherence may significantly enhance survival. So it is important in that case. So here I present two figures from the work these are borrowed from the Richman work. Here you see that the Kaplan-Meier curve shows that over time, the survival distribution function, as you see, this significantly is different from those who they continued and those who discontinued over time. So this is clear for it that how is important. So, and also here, between those who continued the adherence, they compared the adherence and non-adherence Kaplan-Meier curve to verify the risk of recurrence and the how the recurrence can increase, and the survival distribution function shows that. To come up with these problems and to study such topics that we have unexpected behavior and uncertainties in the behavior of patient, the Markov jump systems could be, I assume that is a powerful tools to study and to solve this. So the Markov jump systems are clear. I think that I should jump from this literature review. Here you know that the switching systems generally dictate which subsystem will be, and there is there is a switching between alternative system. It could be Markov jump or any other type. So we can assume continuous time and discontinuity, and also talk about the discrete and continuous. For example, generally, we have the continuous generalized stochastic Markov jump system as follow. This shows that a system that here the A and B are the matrices are affected by the Markov switching process, and also here xt is the state of the state variable for our system, and ut is in fact the inputs or external inputs to the control, and e here is a matrix that could be assumed that is singular or not, depending on the system that we model. So here we assume the Markov chain, and it is in a finite space. So the transmission of matrix can be defined like a matrix of pi ij. So in our space, that which is a limited space, and the properties are cleared. So the probability to switch between two sequence or sequent space is like this one, and it's clear. So, and as I explained, that those matrices A and B are functions of a stochastic process. So there, another topic related to our talk is the robust control. So when we have uncertainties, we should control for the uncertainties. So generally, we have something that happens continuously and expected, and something that's unexpectedly happened. So we should control those. So one solution is the robust control that focus on ensuring system performance under uncertainty. So an H infinity control studied by Haskuee, so for the jump system, that was a pioneering idea and work that related to this topic. So there are some applications for H2H infinity control, as I explained that H2 is for the control of the what is expected or the regularly could happen, and H infinity for the extreme or the unexpected or the worst case that happens. So H2 H infinity controls for them, and sometimes the mix of them are used. So and for the H infinity control is used by Zhu and Chen. They use the H2 H infinity control, and also the mix of them are used by Ting and et al. And the others. So, and the other thing that is good to mention is that here the common method used include the Lyapunov method and the linear matrix inequality method as well. So The first time that I was talking to Thomas, Thomas asked me, "Do you mean by H infinity infinite dimensions?" I said, "No. This superscript stands for in fact, the control of the worst cases. Here is the definition for H infinity, which is a space of bounded holomorphic functions that in complex analysis is used. So, and the superscript is refers to the supermume norm. So it doesn't mean that it is that the dimensionality is infinite, or it does not refer to dimensionality of the space. So, so applications of the H infinity in the control theory, I explained a little, so there are too many, but the main and most is the most application is to control for the worst case that will happen. Either, for example, we have a cost function or utility function or any, in the case that worst case can happen, we can control for that. Okay, so and there are some application of the game theory in robust control. I think that there is no need to review the literature. It was just for those who want to have the presentation file. I just reported them here. Thomas, I pass and jump this quickly. So as I mentioned, H2 controls the moderate cases. For example, in the climate, or any environment that we talk, the H2 controls for the moderate environment, and H2 controls minimize the average cost of the adaptation over time that will happen, and H infinity controls for extreme cases. Okay. So here we will talk about the setup of the problem. So the state equation is represented here for the stochastic model. The previous one that I explained, that was not stochastic. Here we integrated the Brownian motion into the system. So this is the same as the general form, including the Brownian motion, and Z is the output of the system. So the others I explained, U and V, in the case that we have players, so they are the inputs. So it could be, for example, U could be the control input, and V could be the disturbance when we have the disturbances in the system, and we have the game theoretic approach to the problem. Okay. So, and the performance criteria given the disturbance. So for any value of the lambda, we have in fact, the performance criteria could be a cost function for two players, J1 and J2. And then we have also this criteria for the control of the extreme cases or worst cases, if it is available, or it's the feedback is possible, then this is the criteria. So, and I don't know if it's needed to explain any detail or not, just to go to the structure of the cancer model. So, and here we have the definition of finite time horizon stochastic H2 infinity control problem. So for any player we can have, so the objective function or the cost function, as I explained. So we can have the optimum strategies, so or the inputs that we have. So those are control that we have the optimum of them in the system as a solution. And the condition for the Nash equilibrium is that J1 U star V star, sorry, it should be X0 and R0 is less than 1J when we have U star the control by for the case of the moderate, and less than the J2 when we have the optimum for the worst case. So, and if the Nash equilibrium set exists, then H2 H infinity controller will be it will be the controller for the VS star, which is the worst case. And we can prove this. So here I will switch to the hormone therapy because the topic that I wanted to share with you, how can we use this H2 affinity control in the hormone therapy and breast cancer. Here, I grabbed the idea from the literature. So, and also here there was another that represent that 40% of the female of the breast cancer cases, they are the HR positive. So we focus on HR positive breast cancer in this. Uh, there, for the hormone therapy, you are more familiar than me, and you know better than me what is hormone therapy, and you know that the estrogen level can affect the cancer. And then the main the main thing that is to control the level of the estrogen. So the hormone therapy goal is to control the level of estrogen. So, and hormone therapy targets the estrogen and progesterone receptors to control, to reduce the tumor size before the surgery or any radiotherapy, and also lower the risk of recurrence. Uh, and the treatment here, we have the treatments methods and also how can we treat. So this shape show just refers to this idea that how the receptors are important and how is the mechanism. That I'm not a biologist to explain, just I entered this picture from some papers. Unfortunately, I didn't refer to the reference, but this is that how the receptors are important. So our model setup is here is that the biological dynamics that we wanted to talk is the cancer progression and immune response and hormone therapy. So we will focus on the patient adherence, and we assume that there is a Markov jump process for acceptance and rejection behavior. And also we will use the H2 affinity control for the robust therapy design. And the goal of the model is to develop robust treatment strategies under adherence uncertainty. So the role of physician here is to set the strategies. To set a plan for the hormone therapy. So it will design the robust treatment strategies that accounts for uncertainty and the worst case as well. So the objective of the physician is to optimize the treatment outcome while managing for the risk of patient rejections or adherence. Uh, so the optimization goal, in fact, is minimizing the tumor cell as usual in the other models that are assumed, and also to ensure that the treatment effectiveness is the maximum under these stochastic adherence scenarios. And also the goal is to develop a robust strategy to, in fact, solve this or to handle these worst case scenarios where the patients may be outright or they reject the therapy or discontinue, or maybe is not as adherent as we expect. So the strategies by physician revolves around this. So it can personalize the treatment adjustment. In that case, we will have adjustment therapy intensity, depends on how is the behavior of the patient, and also offer alternative intervention if the patient rejects primary treatments. For example, maybe they need some alternative therapies. And also there could be some incentive mechanism Like, for example, they can talk with and communicate with the patients and improve their knowledge and encourage them to follow up the treatment and to also address the side effect or any information, and any other psychological support and intervention could be included in this mechanism as well. But here we didn't focus, but it could be extended in the model as we discussed the first conference workshop that was. So, and the control framework is in fact utilize the edge infinity control to design the robust strategies that minimize the impact of the patient rejection or the worst cases on the treatment outcomes. So here I will explain the equations. The system of equation is the coupling of the PDOD. So I will explain the equations. So the growth and decay of active cancer, I assume that it is like that is estrogen is a factor that increase the number of the cancer cells. So, and here alpha is the growth rate due to estrogen. So E stands for estrogen and C is the cancer cells. So the procedure is like this. So the other is that we have the distraction type rate by T cell. So as well, it was discussed by Thomas. And the therapy efficacy is based on the adherence state. So the kappa shows the efficacy of the adherence. And here the state-dependent efficacy is if if the patients accept the treatment or therapy, it will be 1, otherwise it will be 0. So it means that we have alternating with depending on the switching between two state of the adherence or acceptance. So the next is the immune response dynamics. As usual, also is the equation depends on the T cells and estrogen level, and the parameters are defined. Gamma 1 is the activation rate by the estrogen, and delta 2 is natural decay rate, and beta 2 is interaction rate with the cancer cell. So the PD part for the estrogen concentration is here. So here DE is a diffusion coefficient. So, and also we have parameter alpha 2 here is promotion rate of the cancer growth. So, and beta 2 is the coefficient of that depends on the adherence. So PT is the policy or the therapy level that is set by the physician, and A is the adherence level. That's, I will assume that there is a functional form, that algebraic functional form for AT integrated into the model. And sigma is the stochastic fluctuation that can happen in the level of the estrogen as well. So for the adherence, I assume that depends on the Markov state. So for any state, we have the AT, which is uh, it depends on the state of the acceptance or rejection. So also we can include some arguments in the acceptance, how it will be and how it's affected. So the acceptance or rejection depends on many things. First of all, it depends on the strategies by the physician. PT is the therapy strategies, and also on the side effects, or the side effects affect the reaction of the patient. So I assume this functional form that A accepts is the reciprocal of this function, that here we have the PT is the level of the therapies at time t, and p0 is the initial level, and we have the side effect at each stage of the time. So the Markov state transition probability is to switch between these two, depends on the side effects and the strategies by the physicians. So H2, in fact, minimize the expected cost, but H-finity controls, in fact, minimize the worst case cost. So this is that we can assume here as well. So here, this is just a simple simulation that I did. I calibrated some parameters that I had, and some of them I assume. For example, for the therapy effectiveness, I used some literature review, but there was no for this, but I concluded and I simulated the model. So the model is solved, and the result shows that the cancer cell dynamics is alongside of the estrogen level, the cancer cell will decrease. So, and also the T cell behavior is consistent with the decrease in the cancer cell level. And the last figure shows the response or adherence of the patient that depends on to reject or accept, and it depends on the PT and also side effects. So in conclusion, we know that adherence to hormonal therapy is crucial and important in long-term survival, and also to reduce the recurrence risk, especially in the breast cancer, that the hormone receptor positive breast cancers. And the next is that support systems and patient-centered approaches can enhance the compliance and outcome. And we concluded that H2H-finity control is a powerful tool to handle uncertainties in Markov-Chain system. And also the game theory approach provides a good framework and a strong framework to address and to explain the problems through the Nash equilibrium or strategies. So this approach that we proposed, they achieved in fact robust performance in the presence of a stochastic disturbance and Markovian switching. So, and our result shows that the Markov jump stochastic ODE-PD model captures the patient adherence uncertainty and stochastic biological fluctuation that can happen. And also this approach to control enables the robust therapy strategies for cancer treatment. So my results are so preliminary, and I do not claim that, but the result of the simulated model is consistent with the literature. And for the future, I suggest that to work more on this topic, to enrich that and personalization of the model based on individual and patient profiles as well. And thank you for attendance and listening to me. And at the end, I'm grateful to thank my supervisor, Professor Kumar Murthy, and also I'm highly appreciated to Professor Thomas Hillen that always he listened to us and attract to work on new topics and opens the new window to have a talk and discuss. Thank you again. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, thank you, Mortaza. So I think you opened a new window here with the game theory. That's really interesting. Do we have questions, comments? I can ask the first one. In one of your few Marthy slides, you used a quadratic control.
Yes.
So So the question has to come, what is the reason to have like a quadratic, like a u square, I think, and an x square? Why not linear control?
Yeah, you mean that why did I mention to the quadratic control?
Yeah. Can you go back to the slide where you defined the
Oh,
control problem?
here.
No. There, yeah. Where you
Yeah,
define J1, right. So
yeah, J.
expectation of the integral of v square minus z square. So why squares?
Hmm. Sorry? The norms, you mean the norms? The
Eh,
V is the control input and Z the output. Yeah.
Yeah, so biologically the input is something like a medication. So then the integral on v would be the total amount of medication you give. But what is the meaning of v square?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So the V square, this is the norm. This is the measure that we have in the definition of the. You mean that the definition? I didn't get specifically what you mean. By
Okay,
a
it's fine.
square, you mean that the norm is square?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Uh, so in biology, so this is the general representation form for the when we have two players, but in the case that we have U and V, and basically U is the input control for the moderate cases, that is a strategy by the physician, and V is the refers to the inputs from the patients, that refers to uncertainty comes from the patients, in fact. But
Okay, so maybe it
uh,
has a different meaning than I thought. So maybe that's
yeah, I
yeah.
should think about that. Yeah, thank you. I will
Yeah. Yeah, so
think
I
about
should
that.
I should warn you, Mortaza, because in math biology we get many papers who use control theory with the quadratic cost function, and these
Mhm.
papers are all rejected because nobody understands why it should be quadratic. But if it's a drug, the integral of the drug is a total drug. This makes a lot of sense. But the integral of a
Mm.
drug squared, nobody knows what that really means.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. It's a
Other
good comment.
questions?
Great. So I should expect that if I prepare paper, it will be absolutely rejected.
You will certainly get a
Okay.
comment on that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, there are a couple of papers that they control for the uncertainty parameters. I reviewed the literature I could find in this short period of time, too many papers that they work on the control uncertainty parameters, not in, yeah, the behavior. Yeah. That was, I focused on this. Okay. But
And
thank
then
you for your comment.
I
I
have a
should
second.
work more. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, I have a second question. You said the estrogen supports cancer growth.
Oh, that
Maybe I
is the
missed it.
control.
Yeah.
No, no, that is a controversial topic. The impact of the estrogen, the estrogen can increase the cancer cells, they'll cause the cancer cells or enhance that. Okay, but the others is no, the estrogen that controlled. But that was the conflict that it was mentioned in the literature also. There are too many different results, and here in this model, I assume, and the coupling shows that it initiate the cancer cells. So the level of estrogen will cause the cancer. And then the goal of the therapy is to control the level of estrogen to control the cancer cell.
I
This
see.
is the
Okay.
idea
Yeah.
that I got from the literature. I don't know if I'm right, because I had a short time since we had a talk. I came up with a couple of papers, and I developed, and I got this idea from the literature.
Okay. Yeah. Makes sense. Okay. Other questions here in the room? Yeah, then thank you very much, Mortaza. Too bad you couldn't be here. But
You're
we
very
will,
welcome. I'm so sorry I couldn't catch you because I had some issues here and it took time. I just arrived home. I had to, yeah, prepare the presentation. I'm so sorry I couldn't be in person.
so
I
there's
hope
one
to
more
find,
there's one more
okay.
question here.
So I know that, right? When under, breast cancer therapy, that you take this medication and you have to take it, yes, every day. But not only you have to take it every day, you have to take it every day at the same time. And do you know why the reason for that is?
I'm not a physician. I'm not, you know, the, there are a couple of questions also for me that for this type of treatment. As I mentioned, for the motivation for this talk was that I was looking for some treatment that is long-term treatment, and the adherence and the continuity and discontinuity of the patient behavior is important. Okay, so I'm not a specialist in the biology, but that good question. I think about that. I will study that topic as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, then thank you very much for your nice talk. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Have a good time. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.